Hey there, Mike Plume here. Welcome to Stories from a Lonesome Stretch of Highway. Every once in a while, every now and again, when the moon's holding water, I'm going to pour a cup of coffee and tell some stories. Episode 5, San Francisco to Taos, New Mexico. The road is an interesting thing. It's one of those places. We've all been on vacation with our families, maybe go on a couple hour drive to the beach or to the lake or whatever it is. Maybe you make a trip from Moncton, New Brunswick to Montreal for a vacation. That'd be a bit of a drive, 8 or 9 hours, 10 hours, something like that. We've all done that. But the road, in terms or in regard to being a traveling musician, is a different animal entirely. You're just gone for months on end. You don't know when you're getting back. We quite often, for years, would hit the road in early January, usually January 4th for some reason, and we would get back in July for a couple weeks in July. And then we'd hit the road again in early August, and we would get back usually around Christmas Eve. That's just the way it was for years and years and years. Back in 1999, our record year, we did 249 one-nighters. Mind-numbing when you think about it. But yeah, 249. That was bookended with years of like 225 and 220 or something like that. We were just always playing music, and it was always in another town. That's how that worked. Years ago, we were doing a show once in Calgary, and at a place called the Mission Bridge. And there was a sound man there, and his name escapes me right now. But we were talking after sound check, and it was his house gig, so he was not on the road anymore. He just mixed the bands at the Mission Bridge every night. But he had been on the road for a long time. But he got married, had kids, decided, I need to settle down and stay in one place. And so that's what he did. But he told me that what he was the most proud of, aside from all the gigs and all that kind of stuff, what he was the most proud of is that he had managed to see the sun rise and the sun set in every province, in every season. And I remember when he told that to me, that was just one of those, what a great thing to be aware of. And so starting right then and there, I started keeping track. And over the years, with the exception of Newfoundland, Alaska, and maybe a couple of states, nothing that I can think of off the top of my head, but I have seen the sunrise and the sunset in every province, in every state, in every season, pretty much. It was just one of those things I started keeping a mental note of. So I got on the kick of being the guy, because of that, I got on the kick of being the guy who would drive through the night. I'd like to see the sunrise in another part of the world. So we played a festival in I don't remember where, north of San Francisco. And we were on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. And our next gig was 2 or 3 days later in Taos, New Mexico. And we left. We hit the road probably around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And Evo, our tour manager, he drove through the night, or not through the night. He drove from 4 in the afternoon till midnight. Around midnight, it was my shift. So I got behind the wheel, got a cup of coffee, pack of smokes, and pointed the bus towards Taos, New Mexico. We had this big old airporter bus, had 28 seats in it that we ripped out and put 6 bunks in the back, and up front we had like a couch and a couple captain's chairs, and Sony PlayStation to play some hockey, and yeah, it was a pretty good way to while away the hours while you're rolling down the road. Anyway, so I was behind the wheel. By 2:00 in the morning, everybody had retired from playing Sony PlayStation hockey or whatever else they were doing, and it was just me up front rolling down the highway. And around 4 in the morning, I was driving along. I don't remember where. I could probably look at a map and figure it out pretty quick. But I was rolling along, and I saw a sign that said Grand Canyon, this way. So I thought, we don't have anywhere to be tomorrow, which was a Sunday, I think. We don't have anywhere to be on Monday. We don't have to be in Taos until Tuesday, I think it was. So I said, what have I got to lose? So I just pulled off the highway, off the interstate, and started heading north for about 40 or 50 miles. It was the middle of the night, pitch black. Moonlit, I guess, probably, if memory serves me correctly. But I was going to go see the Grand Canyon. And I just drove and drove and drove for, maybe 40 minutes, half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that, until I drove into a parking lot. There was no gate, there was no nothing. I just drove into a parking lot, and I drove up to a guardrail. And I figured, I couldn't see it, but I figured if the Grand Canyon is there, I'll see it soon enough. And so I grabbed another cup of coffee. We had a little coffee machine in the back of the bus. And I sat on the hood of our bus with a cup of coffee and a cigarette. And I waited for the sun to rise over the Grand Canyon. And it was everything I could have possibly imagined and more. It was the most stunning sight I've ever seen. I'm not sure anything could rival it. It's certainly, it was crazy. It was one of those, I'll never forget that. Of all my years on the road, 3,000 shows and all the things I've seen, that's the one moment that always bubbles up to the top. Sitting on the hood of my bus with a cup of coffee and a cigarette, and just watching the sun come up over the Grand Canyon, all the colors, the purples, the pinks, and various smudges of the two colors. It was stunning. And then by 6:30 in the morning, I got back behind the wheel and backed out of the parking lot and headed toward Taos. It was cool. But so I'm going to play a little song here for you that I wrote back in October of 2000. Actually, right around Jenny and I had just met, actually. And we all have a path. We all have choices, and it's our job to try to find that path. It's a world of lonely people. We're all waiting to explode. And out there is a road for all involved. It's a grand command performance, so stand up and take a bow. 'Cause we have all been wandering. Where have you been till now? There's a road custom made for you. There's a road that you've long been traveling to. There's a road Well, some people take religion, they take the Jesus roll call, while others say don't believe in nothing but yourself at all. Well, me, I can't speak for you. Hell, I can barely speak for me. But with a little bit of faith and a little bit of luck, that works just fine for me. And there's a road custom made for you. There's a road that you've long been traveling to. There's a road. It's a Grand Command performance when you're out there on your own, and you're standing out there all alone. 'Cause there's a road there's a road there's a road. It's been calling out your name. There's a road through the sleet and driving rain.